everybody. Welcome back to Crime and Coffee. I'm Allison.
And I'm Mike.
And we're glad to have you back here.
Yeah, hey, we've had some decent success here, just launching, a week ago or 2 weeks ago now, maybe?
Yeah, time kind of just slips by, so I think it's been about less than 2 weeks.
Yeah. So we've got, a good amount of downloads. We're active on Instagram and Twitter. You can find us at Crime and Coffee 2, because somebody took Crime and Coffee and is just sitting on it. I think 2 different people on 2 different platforms.
Maybe they have some big plans.
Yeah, maybe they do. Who knows? And who are we to take that from them?
I don't know, but all I know is I'm thankful you're here, and we're going to just kind of dive right into it, right? Unless you have something that's been going on this week.
When you say you're thankful I'm here, is it just me?
Oh, yeah.
That's who you're talking to, right?
Not the rest of the audience that's actively listening to this podcast. No, Mike, I am thankful that you are here with me.
Yeah, no, I'm a little bummed. Our Chicago White Sox lost in the playoffs yesterday. They're out. So the Tampa Bay Rays. So, that's all done and, whatever. It is Packer week. I've got some things on my mind, and specifically around sports. I want the Bears to beat the Packers this Sunday.
I'm sure our listeners are dropping off like flies at this point, so thanks for that.
Oh, this is not a sports podcast.
It is not.
Oh, okay.
They don't give a shit about the Chicago Bears, Mike.
Right. Hey,
I'm just going to let you in on a little secret.
I'm just trying to tell you what's on my mind, currently.
You know what was on my mind?
What?
How different men and women's beauty and bedtime routines are.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you and I were just getting ready this morning to start the podcast, which my morning routine is a lot more pared down than my nighttime routine. But it's kind of bullshit that women have, or don't have to, but that we fall into these things of having to do these lotions and potions, and I don't see you putting serums all over your face and using a special nighttime hand cream and all that good stuff.
Well, I'm not being marketed to on a daily basis saying that I'm not good enough like women are.
Yeah.
And I've you and I have talked about that before, where it's just you're constantly being told you're not good enough, but if you buy this product, you'll get better. And if you buy this product, you're not going to be as ugly as fast. And if you buy this product, you're going to look, you're going to fool people.
Yeah, and the other thing I think about is if I walked into a plastic surgeon, he'd probably rip me apart and tell me I needed 5 things done, and I'm only 42 years old.
Well, yeah, he'd have suggestions because that's how he makes money.
I know, it's just kind of funny.
And you're sitting there, it's like you're in his sales seat, basically, being like, "What do you think, Doc? Anything?" Well, he's like, "Well, yeah, well, we can lift this and move this over here." That's what he's going to do. That's just what.
That's how he makes money.
Exactly, and you're there for a reason. So,
yeah, I'm in the age of Botox. I'm in my 40s. This is when women really start to go and get those plumpers put in.
I think 40s is really good for women. I think 50s is even pretty good for women.
Well, don't make a cutoff where that once I'm 60, I'm going to think that you think I'm ugly.
No, I'm going to love you for what's inside.
Okay.
And definitely
because I thought you were going to say, and once you hit your 60s, it's all downhill from
Well, I didn't
there.
want to say it, but...
Yeah, don't.
Okay.
Don't. This way, when I turn 60, I won't feel like, an old hag.
Well, I'm going to love everything that you're all about. That's what it is.
Well, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, and I wore a polo shirt for you, so I dressed up today.
You did?
Yeah, it's a nice little red Northern Illinois polo shirt.
Oddly enough, we're both wearing Northern Illinois University shirts.
Wow.
Yeah, we didn't even plan that. We didn't phone each other last night and plan it.
We are alumni. We didn't sleep together, though. Hey,
what are you talking about?
Well, we slept in the same bed.
Oh, we did, yeah.
Oh, okay. You actually thought about that. Yeah. So,
I was looking on Instagram and they showed a picture of a double king bed. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, we need that.
We need to be as far apart as possible, just because I want to be able to put my arm out and not touch anything.
Oh, I can't touch you when I reach my arm out.
Yeah,
I was trying to wake you up the other morning.
Yeah.
I'm like, where the hell is he? We are not cuddlers when we sleep.
Not at all.
I'm in the camp of don't fucking touch me.
Yeah, it's like game time. It's like, all right, we're just going to stay on our sides.
Well, once I get in bed for sleep, I just want to sleep.
It's kind of like a tennis match. Like if we had a net between, it would be totally fine.
It would be.
Yeah.
Even if it was like a brick wall.
Yeah, we still love each other.
But we do love each other. I'm just not a cuddler when I want to sleep.
Right.
I'm very serious about my sleep. I need it.
Yeah, because you might see a movie where we always joke where like the husband comes home and is like, "Hey, babe, good morning," or "Hey, I'm home, just so you know." You'd be like, "What the fuck? I was sleeping. What are you doing?"
If you came home and kissed me and woke me up, I would slit your damn throat.
I know, and that's why it's so funny when I'm out or I go out for some whatever reason. I'm like, all right, I'll wake you up when I get home because I know you like that. You're like, yeah, right.
Well, when you go out with your guy friends, like say it's during the week, you might not come home till midnight. My alarm is set for 4:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
I want you to be home and safe and all that good stuff, but don't wake me up.
Or even like, some little play,
Yeah.
Daddy comes home, Daddy, it's usually a business trip. Daddy has some needs.
Daddy.
Yeah. And then you're like, nope.
You're such
Those needs will be taken care of at a different time.
Exactly. This is not the time.
Right.
This is the time for sleep.
Right. Well, I think you're up this week.
Yes, I am up this week, and I'm just going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to let you know that there's no other way to describe this story but despicably horrible. That's just...
Yeah, I think we're going to have that as a constant.
No,
this
one really, this one's really bad.
Okay.
And it definitely deserves some trigger warnings. There's child abuse.
Jeez, Louise.
Yeah, this one was rough to research. I was definitely on the brink of tears several times reading it. You just can't imagine what a human is capable of doing. Or humans, I should say. And in fact, as I go on, I thought of Lord of the Flies a lot with this.
Oh, jeez.
Did you read that when you were in school?
Yeah, Piggy and all that.
Yeah, just how it's kind of like the Hitler thing, like how you can't imagine how somebody can have their mind changed and do things and follow people.
Yeah, like Charles Manson, he had the people that followed him and stuff, and they started doing crimes for him.
Yeah. So
it's the human mind can really be fucked up, like if you let it go a little bit, and like the people that you think are totally fine and like would never do something heinous, like they get in the wrong situation, and all of a sudden the human brain can really screw you.
Yeah, and you think you're stronger than that, but then some people just follow through and go follow somebody.
Yeah, well, I'm interested to hear what this is all about.
Okay, so this is the heartbreaking story of the murder and torture of Sylvia Likens. It took place in Indianapolis, Indiana, in October of 1965. The 16-year-old girl was tortured and beaten over a 3-month period by at least 10 people. So there's where, like, you talk about the Lord of the Flies.
10 people, huh?
Yeah, 10 people were, if not more, were involved in this.
And what was her name?
Sylvia Likens.
Sylvia Likens.
And this case has been called the most terrible crime ever committed in the state of Indiana. Indianapolis Police Department homicide chief and 35-year officer was quoted saying that this was the most sadistic act I ever came across. And, he'd been in the force for 35 years. So that's going to give you a little hint as to where we're headed.
Yeah.
So Sylvia Marie Likens was born on January 3rd, 1949. She was the third child of 5. She was born between 2 sets of fraternal twins. I can't imagine having 2 sets of twins. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
But
she was a twin also?
No, she was the non-twin in the middle.
Got it.
Yeah, in the middle of the 2 sets. So her older siblings, quickly, her parents are Lester and Betty Likens. So her older twins, they were 2 years older than her, were Diana and Daniel. And then the younger set of twins were 1 year younger than Sylvia. And they were, this is kind of funny, Jenny and Benny.
Oh,
I love it.
That's cute.
So Jenny suffered from a notable limp. She had polio.
That's exactly what I thought. Like this
Really?
sounded like probably polio.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
She wore a silver brace on one leg. Sylvia, she loved to roller skate, listen to the Beatles, my kind of gal. Her nickname was Cookie, and she tried to earn money for the family. She would babysit, run errands, iron for people and neighbors, neighbors and friends.
A lot of nicknames like that back in the day. Cookie, Bubbles, Midge.
Yeah, Cookie is adorable.
Yeah.
So Sylvia's parents, they struggled. Their marriage was rocky, unstable. They moved a lot. I read that they had lived in 19 separate addresses with their kids between 1949
Holy cow,
and 1965.
No military or anything like that?
No,
Just
but
moving. Huh.
Well, their job may have had a role in that. They weren't in the military though. So her father, he only had an 8th grade education. So, they didn't make a lot of money. They kind of struggled there. But Betty and Lester traveled with the carnival. So maybe that's why they moved a lot.
Yep.
They basically sold concessions with the carnival. They would sell, beer and candy and drinks and things like that. Oftentimes this was going on while the kids were in school. So they would take the boys with them, but leave the girls behind. I don't know why the boys' education wasn't a top priority, but they left the girls at home so that they could focus on their school.
Maybe they figured they could become carnies.
I don't know.
Teach them to trade.
But oftentimes Sylvia and Jenny would be left with like their grandparents in particular. Their older sister Diana, I guess she got married young. She was married and out of the house by 18. So she was kind of out of the picture there. So, you know, they were always looking for somebody to be able to watch the two girls, Jenny and Sylvia. Mm-hmm. So to just give you a little bit more of a description of Sylvia, she had lost a front tooth roughhousing with one of her brothers playing around. So oftentimes when you see pictures of her, she's not smiling with her teeth. She keeps her mouth closed to conceal it. She was very protective of her sister Jenny. They would go roller skating together because Sylvia loved roller skating so much, and she would help Jenny around the rink, you know, because she had the one bad leg with the brace. She'd put the skate on the good leg, and Sylvia would help pull her around the rink, which I thought was adorable because I used to roller skate a lot when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, we're moving into how she got to know her torturer. So it's June of 1965. Sylvia and Jenny, they're living with their parents in Indianapolis. On July 3rd, 1965, Sylvia's mother ended up getting arrested for shoplifting. She was sent to jail. And in this time, her dad, Lester, is needing to be on the road with the carnival and looking for a place for Jenny and Sylvia to be. I'm not sure why they weren't automatically going back to the grandparents, but Jenny and Sylvia had gotten to know a couple of classmates from high school. They went to Arsenal Technical High School, and they met Stephanie and Paula Banazuski. I'm going to pronounce their last name Banazuski. I heard that a lot. I also heard Banacheski, but I'm just going to say Banazuski.
Let's say Banacheski is probably the Polish version of it, and then Banazuski is probably the American
exactly.
version.
Like, I remember my grandma's last name was Lewandowski, and when I was older, she's like, yeah, we used to pronounce it Lewandowski. Mm-hmm. I was like, what? I'm like, well, have I been saying it wrong?
Being Chicagoans, we have a lot of experience with the Polish names.
Yeah, a lot of Polish.
At one point, Chicago had more Polish people than any other city outside of Warsaw.
It's interesting that people just ended up migrating there.
Yeah, they're like, hey, newspaper in Poland says go to Chicago.
Go to Chicago. Go to where it's freezing cold.
Hey, Yakshamash, let's go.
So Jenny, just to back up again, Jenny and Sylvia had met Stephanie and Paula Banazuski at their high school. They kind of became acquainted, friendly with them. And Lester, their father, had made an agreement with Stephanie and Paula's mom, Gertrude, to watch Jenny and Sylvia, and in return, he would pay her $20 a week for their boarding and care.
Wow, that's pretty good. I mean, decent money back then.
Yeah. And Gertrude had promised to take care of Sylvia and Jenny as if they were her own. So now giving you a little bit about Gertrude, she was born on September 19th, 1928. She was born in Indianapolis to a working class family. She was the third of 6 children. Sadly, when she was only maybe like 6 years old or so, maybe it was closer to 11. On October 5th, 1939, her father died of a heart attack right in front of her, which is, terribly tragic.
Yeah.
Several years later, age 16, she dropped out of high school. She married John Stephen Banazuski. He was 18. They had 4 children together. I guess he was pretty violent and abusive to her. They divorced after 10 years of marriage. And only weeks later, she married Edward Guthrie. He was also abusive, and they divorced after only 3 months of marriage. They never had any children together. Obviously, they were only married. Well, I guess she could have gotten pregnant, but it was a very short stint.
Yeah.
So Gertrude then went back to John. They remarried and had 2 more children together. So now they have 6 children together, and then they divorced for a second time in 1963.
Wow.
Yeah. So weeks after her third divorce, Gertrude met 22-year-old Dennis Lee Wright, and they had a son together, Dennis Jr. So now it's 1965. She has 7 children. She never married Dennis.
So they're all John's kids?
No, one of them is Dennis.
Okay.
So 6 children are from John, and one is from Dennis.
Yeah.
And you know what? I lied. She did marry Edward Guthrie. I don't know if I said she did.
Yeah, they were married 3 months.
Yeah, they were married for 3 months, but she never did marry Dennis.
Okay.
But they did have a child together.
Got it.
Dennis was not an attentive father. He kind of skipped out of town, never paid child support. So now at this point in time, Gertrude is 36 years old. She's a single mother to 7 children. She's chain smoking, living in squalor at 3850 East New York Street in Indianapolis.
How do you just skip out and not pay child support on a kid?
I don't know how the hell you do that.
Man, if you're somebody that doesn't pay child support, you're a real scumbag.
Yeah, but
just so you know.
Plenty of people do it, sadly.
Yeah.
So she's living in Indianapolis, paying about $55 a month for her home. Just to give you a little picture of what she looks like, she's about 5'6", weighs only 100 pounds.
No, a little one.
Yeah, she's very thin. She has been described as haggard, underweight, asthmatic.
Yeah, if there's something I want people to remember me as, it's haggard.
Yeah, people often commented that she looked older than she actually was.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about in the beginning of the show here.
These lotions and potions.
Yeah, maybe she should have had some lotions and potions.
She was said to be suffering from terrible depression and taking heavy doses of prescription drugs. Their house was kind of the neighborhood hangout house because she was very lax with the children. They were basically able to do whatever the hell they wanted when they were in her home. So, of course, they gravitated there. They were able to have sex talks, smoke,
yep.
drink even.
Sure.
And Gertrude would earn money by charging neighbors a few dollars for their ironing, kind of like Sylvia had earned money. So she didn't make very much money to have 7 children,
right?
Basically.
Yeah.
So now we're going into right after the 4th of July holiday. Sylvia and Jenny moved into the Banazuski home shortly after the holiday. And at this point, Gertrude's kids were Paula, who was 17, Stephanie is 15, John is 12, Maria is 11, Shirley is 10, James is 8, and Dennis, the baby, is only several months old. Mm-hmm. So she's got a lot of kids in this house, and now she's bringing in 2 more.
Wow.
Yeah. So Lester, Sylvia and Jenny's father, they knew that he knew Gertrude was poor. He didn't want to pry into, her business or the condition of her home. But he did encourage Gertrude to straighten his daughters out. Basically, if they got out of line, put them back in line.
You can hit them, do whatever you want.
Yeah. So Lester had never set foot into Gertrude's home before leaving his 2 daughters in her care. Had he done so, he may have noticed that there was no way Gertrude was capable of taking care of 2 more children.
Jeez.
The house was not equipped. From what I understood, there was really no stove or oven there. There was just like a hot plate in the kitchen.
Man.
It was literally squalor. So Sylvia and Jenny are sharing a room with 11-year-old Marie and 10-year-old Shirley. And
I wonder how she made food for the kids every day.
I don't know.
They probably just gathered from anywhere. Probably went and got stuff at friends' houses, came back, and whatever.
Yeah, because
Stole
even
food.
Before Sylvia and Jenny came into the home, there were 8 of them.
Right.
So feeding 8 mouths is an incredible feat.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure how she was able to.
Lots of cans of beans, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. And who knows at that time if the schools gave free lunches and things like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But so Sylvia and Jenny are sharing a room with 11-year-old Marie, 10-year-old Shirley, 8-year-old Jimmy. And there was only 1 mattress in the room, so 5 kids had to take turns sleeping on it.
Jeez.
So really awful conditions.
Yeah.
So all was well during the first 2 weeks of their stay. Jenny and Sylvia were treated fairly well. Sylvia would often do chores around the house to help and step up kind of to cover Jenny because Jenny wasn't, she had the brace on her leg. It wasn't as easy as her. So she kind of helped out doing enough for the both of them. Jenny and Sylvia would attend church and Sunday school with the family. 2 weeks into their stay is when the downturn happened. Apparently, Lester's check failed to arrive on their prearranged date, and this just sent Gertrude into a tizzy. So she now was turning her rage onto Sylvia and Jenny. So they became the target of it. She beat their bare butts with a paddle and shouted, "I took care of you 2 little bitches for nothing." And lo and behold, the money would end up coming a day or 2 later. So It's not like he wasn't sending the checks. They were just taking a little bit longer than the exact date that he had set.
Well, it's not the kid's fault either.
Of course,
that's not what Lester meant when he said, go ahead and straighten him out.
I do not think that's what Lester meant. So in late August of 1965, both girls were beaten 15 times with a paddle after Paula, Gertrude's oldest daughter, who's 17, had accused them of eating too much food at the church supper. So basically anything is setting it off at this point.
Yeah. So you're like living in basically just, being scared and sitting there and trying not to do anything
right.
bad. So
and even if you don't do anything bad, something's going to happen.
Right.
So soon Gertrude was abusing Sylvia and Jenny, even in broad daylight. She wasn't hiding it. Mm-hmm. So being frail and thin herself, she didn't have a whole lot of strength.
Sure.
She did suffer from asthma, and she was a terrible smoker. So, I'm sure she was often short of breath. So her weapons of choice was typically a heavy paddle and a thick leather belt. I heard the belt came from one of the ex-husbands who had been in the police force. It was like his police belt. When she became too tired, she would bring in her daughter Paula, the oldest, to help.
The enforcer?
Yeah. So it was said that Paula and Sylvia often butted heads. They're similar ages. Sylvia's 16, Paula's 17. Mm-hmm. At one point, Paula hit Sylvia so hard that it actually broke her wrist.
Jeez.
Yeah. So now she's having a cast in place. Well, it's nice and hard. So this is a perfect weapon. So now she's using her cast as a weapon against Sylvia.
I'm surprised they took her to the doctor.
I know. You'd think they'd want to hide it or whatever, or just not get care, but they did. So by mid-August 1965, Sylvia is now becoming the main target of the abuse rather than Jenny.
Was she smaller or something? Or?
No, I think the thing is that Jenny had polio, so maybe they kind of felt sorry for her. Mm-hmm. Also, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, I don't think I did. Jenny was more reserved, quiet. Sylvia was more outspoken, confident, less likely to just sit back and be quiet.
Okay.
So I don't know if that had something to do with it. The other thing that was speculated was just pure jealousy. Gertrude is 36 years old with 7 children. She's all emaciated, whatever. Her daughter Paula is overweight and incidentally 3 months pregnant. So she's probably looking at Sylvia, who's similar age to her, and feels jealous of her. So that may have been part of the target of the rage.
Yeah, and I was going to ask the size difference. So Paula's a big old girl. And
I saw pictures of her. She wasn't like insanely large or anything, but I'm sure she didn't have the best self-esteem, and she's taking her anger out on Sylvia.
Right.
So, Jenny would be told to join in on the abuse or be threatened to be abused herself. So I don't know how often she was forced to take part in hurting her own sister.
Jeez.
But it was just a shit show. And then the other Banazuski kids were also encouraged to join in. They were basically using Sylvia as a practice dummy for their karate. They would slam Sylvia into walls and to the floor, and her skin would oftentimes be used as an ashtray. They would throw her down the basement stairs. They would rub salt into the skin they had cut open, and then they would force her to take scalding hot baths, maybe this was Gertrude, to cleanse her of her sins.
So this is what you were talking about when it's like, the mom starts it and then has her oldest daughter, Paula, kind of start doing some stuff.
And Paula was a very willing participant.
Right.
Like, this girl's evil.
Yeah. But then, like, you got some other friends and stuff coming over and be like, hey, this is what we do to this girl. We put cigarettes on her and then you can do whatever you want.
Isn't that insane?
Go ahead, punch her. Like, nobody even cares.
That you would... I don't think there's any circumstance that I would lay a finger on a person. How did none of these children say, this is fucked?
Right.
I'm going home and telling my parents.
Well, because they're kids and they're, kids have, stupid. They're not stupid. They're just not, fully mature. So they see like a couple of friends.
They're taking the adults too.
Right.
Cute.
Right. And it's like, oh, this is okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Well,
they don't think this is another human being, which is really what the thought process should be.
Right.
But it's just like, oh, okay, cool. And they don't think of repercussions or anything like that. It's like, oh, I'm just going to punch this girl.
Yeah, it's so awful.
Ugh.
So Gertrude would grab Sylvia's hair. She one time had put her in the scalding hot bath. She repeatedly struck her head against the side of the bathtub to revive her when she was fainting. On one occasion in late August, Sylvia mentioned that she had a boyfriend. She was just casually telling them that I guess they had lived in California that spring and she had met a boy. And Gertrude had asked Sylvia if she had ever done anything with the boy. Sylvia didn't understand even what she's like talking about. And she's like, yeah, I did. She's basically saying, I guess so. She said they had gone skating. They went to the beach. They went to the park with some other boys and Jenny.
Have you ever done anything? Yeah, like we talked and we went to places and yeah, sure. We talked and went to eat some food. Yeah, plenty of things.
Right, because she's innocent, she's 16. She hadn't done anything with him.
Hey, when I was dating you at 16, you weren't very innocent.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Lies. Sylvia had continued to talk to Stephanie and Jenny in the room, mentioning that she had laid under the covers with her boyfriend. Gertrude asked her why she did that, and Sylvia said, I don't know, and shrugged. Several days later, Gertrude commented that Sylvia was getting big in the stomach and looked as if she was going to have a baby soon. So, she's implying she's pregnant. Mm-hmm. So Sylvia thought that Gertrude was joking and just, flippantly commented, yeah, it sure is getting big. I'm just going to have to go on a diet. Gertrude then informed Sylvia and the rest of the girls in the house that whenever they did something with a boy, they would be sure to have a baby. Gertrude then kicked Sylvia in the vagina, and Paula participated by knocking Sylvia off of a chair to the kitchen floor, saying, you ain't fit to sit in a chair. So, ironically, though, this is happening while 17-year-old Paula is 3 months pregnant from a married man.
Right.
Yet they're abusing and kicking Sylvia because she laid under the covers with a boy.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. And then I guess during this time, I think Stephanie is 15, the sister, she would try to come to Sylvia's defense. She would try to remove items that were being used as weapons against Sylvia. Mm-hmm. Sylvia would oftentimes, food was a big source of abuse. She would be starved. Other times she would be force-fed. At one occasion,
force-fed? So starved and force-fed.
Well, in one particular story, there was a neighborhood boy named Randy Gordon. He helped Gertrude and Paula force feed Sylvia a hot dog. I guess they had just loaded it up with condiments, ketchup, mustard. They mixed all sorts of spices in there. And then they forced her to eat it, which caused her to vomit. And then they forced her to eat that.
Oh, gosh.
Just pure cruelty and torture.
Just like, hey, you can do anything to this thing.
Yes.
Don't consider it a human.
Exactly. Nobody would do this to any animal on the street, let alone a human being.
Yeah.
It's sick. So oftentimes, due to starvation and desperation, Sylvia would be eating food that was, well past its spoil point, just to, basically survival. So now it's back towards like the fall time and school's resuming. I guess, maybe as a form of retaliation, I think this ended up being true, that Sylvia had spread some rumors around the school that Paula and Stephanie were prostitutes. I love it.
So even though Stephanie helped her sometimes?
Yeah, I'm sure maybe it wasn't all fun and games there with Stephanie. But I guess Stephanie had ended up being jokingly propositioned by a boy, like, hey, I'll take you up on that.
Yeah. How much? How much, sweetheart? Hey, what do you say? A couple, maybe a fin?
So when they returned home after school that day, Stephanie confronted Sylvia, who did admit that she said this. So Stephanie punched Sylvia in the stomach. When Stephanie's boyfriend, Coy Hubbard, heard about these rumors, he attacked Sylvia. He slapped her, he banged her head on the wall, he flipped her backwards to the floor. And then other neighborhood kids would also join in, and Gertrude was said to have charged the neighborhood kids 5 cents to beat, scald, burn, and mutilate Sylvia. So she's using this now as a form of income.
Then you get the most fucked up kids that are like, hey, if you just give her a nickel, you can do whatever you want to this girl.
Yep. At one point, there's a father of a neighborhood boy. His name was Michael John Monroe. He had placed an anonymous call to the high school to report a girl with open sores across her entire body living in the Banaszewski home. Sylvia hadn't attended school in several days, so one of the school nurses visited the home to investigate the claims. Gertrude told the nurse that Sylvia had run away from her home the previous week, and she was unaware of her whereabouts, claiming that Sylvia was out of control and the sores on her body were a result of Sylvia refusing to maintain her personal hygiene. She was telling the nurse that Sylvia was a bad influence to her own children and her own sister, Jenny, and the nurse made no further investigation concerning Sylvia's welfare from there. Basically took Gertrude's story and, did nothing about it.
Probably looked at the other kids and like, well, yeah, what is she just beating this one kid? And like, yeah, that sounds crazy. No, and the other kids seem fine and fed and whatever, so forget it. Yeah, I'm sure she's fine.
Yeah. So the point, I guess, too, is that it wasn't that this was being unnoticed. People were seeing what was going on.
I'm curious about the dad. So he just like never came and saw his kids?
Well, we'll kind of get more about that.
Yeah.
And then I guess the next door neighbors, Raymond and Phyllis Vermillion, initially considered that Gertrude was an ideal caregiver. I'm not entirely sure how you could possibly see that. An ideal caregiver to Sylvia and Jenny. They had visited the house twice during Jenny and Sylvia's stay. On both visits, the neighbors had observed that Paula was physically abusing Sylvia and noticed that Sylvia had a black eye during this time. Paula openly bragged about her abuse. Like, she wasn't even trying to hide it.
And they still said Gertrude's a good caregiver.
Yes. And on their second visit, they noted that Sylvia had a somewhat zombified appearance, yet they never reported a thing to authorities.
Jeez.
So here you go to answer your question. Sylvia and Jenny's parents, when the carnival would be on break or kind of coming back to town, whatever, they would come and visit. I don't know how their visits looked. I don't know if they came into the home. I'm not entirely sure what happened.
You would think so, to see your own fucking kids that come into the home and, you know, maybe have dinner. I mean, these are your kids, right?
Right.
So.
And, you know, this is a split level home. So there's a basement, there's a main living area on the first floor, and then upstairs is where the bedrooms were. So maybe they couldn't see the state of the bedrooms and that there was only one mattress on the floor.
Right.
You know, perhaps the living room and stuff like that had a couch and there was not much to see. So maybe they didn't even realize how bad the situation was. But the point is that the abuse was never made known to the parents.
I'm sure they all said if you say anything to your parents, it's going to be even worse.
Exactly. And I don't know if maybe Sylvia had on long sleeves when they would visit so that they couldn't see the burns and the marks and things like that. But Gertrude would always be present in the room when the parents were visiting. So, you know, nothing was said. And the girls did not seem to be in distress when their parents were visiting. So nothing was done. So apparently after one of their last visits, if not the last visit in late August, when they had left, Gertrude turned to Sylvia, taunting her, saying, "What are you going to do now, Sylvia? Now they're gone." It's just so cruel.
Yeah, screwing with her.
Poor Sylvia. She must have just felt so desperate, you know?
And at this point, obviously, she has no chance in life.
No. So in September, Jenny and Sylvia just happened to encounter their older sister, Diana, at a local park. And they did actually confide in her about the abuse that had been going on. They added that specifically the abuse was happening to Sylvia. And somehow Diana chalked it up to the girls exaggerating. Apparently Lester would sometimes turn to like a belt or something like that when he was disciplining the kids. So I don't know if they thought like, oh yeah, okay, I'm sure you maybe got spanked with a belt and you're just making this so much worse than it actually is.
Yeah.
But regardless, Diana did nothing. But a side thing that I had read was that Diana was somewhat estranged from the family. I don't know what somewhat estranged means, but the parents, I guess, had forbidden her to contact the two younger sisters.
So there wasn't some kind of close connection.
No. So I think maybe that was part of the reason. Like when I first read that, I'm like, what the fuck kind of sister hears that her sisters are being abused and does nothing about it?
Yeah, they're reaching out to her and basically saying help. And she's like, nah, you're fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, and I can't imagine at that time that Sylvia didn't have marks all over herself.
Yeah.
But then around October 1st, I guess Diana somehow got the address because she wasn't privy to the address of where they were staying. But somehow Diana got the address. She visited the Banaszewski home, but Gertrude had refused to allow her to come in, saying that she received permission from the parents to not allow her to see Sylvia and Jenny.
Well, that's a red flag.
Yeah, well, I guess that maybe was true, that the parents did say, hey, if Diana ever comes around, don't let her in. So it may be accurate that Gertrude was telling the truth.
Yeah.
So then Gertrude ordered Diana off the property. And just about 2 weeks later, Diana happened to bump into Jenny separately, asked about Sylvia's well-being, and Jenny replied, I can't tell you or I'm going to get into trouble. It's like, well, there's a red flag.
Right.
Something's not right.
Well, at least Diana tried to investigate a little bit.
Yeah, I was happy to hear that she had come back to the house. So then the last day that Sylvia was allowed to attend school was October 6th. Apparently, she hadn't given the girl... Sylvia didn't have money to pay for her gym uniform.
Sure.
So she ended up taking a spare one. And Gertrude found out about this, and that was the end of school. She pulled her out of school. So
just a spare one from the school.
Yeah, I don't know if she like stole it, or you know how there was a box of uniforms.
Yeah, I had to pull from that every once in a while. I didn't. It smelled because I don't think they did the laundry all week.
So gross. I think one time in my entire high school career did I have to use that.
I had to do it once a quarter maybe, and you know exactly where to go. And it was kind of the box of shame because the uniform was always really small and came really high up in my legs and everything.
It's skin tight, like a little packed sausage.
Yeah.
The kids could see your balls and dick.
Yeah. At that point, my balls dropped. Well into puberty.
Oh, and you would think that would encourage you not to forget your gym uniform.
Yeah, I knew there was an extra. It was fine.
Yeah, it smelled like dirty water, but hey. So apparently Gertrude called the school and told them that Sylvia no longer had interest in attending. I don't know, maybe back in 1965, that was...
Well, it's funny. Like, I'm viewing this as being like forever ago, but 65, things are kind of going by then. It wasn't like 1930s or anything.
No.
Yeah. So that's, she's not going to be coming anymore. Okay, sounds good.
All right, we'll take her off our list. See you later.
Kid. Yeah, thanks a lot. I guess, a lot of people did drop out of high school then and just kind of started working. She probably just made up some story. Like, she'll be working at a factory, yada, yada.
Exactly. And Jenny continued to attend school, but this is kind of where things just really kind of got out of control. Apparently, Sylvia was sent to live in the basement more often. This is getting into October. This is in Indiana. It's cold. It's an unfinished basement. It's not a pretty place to be. Not that any place in the house was probably a pretty place to be, but this was even worse. The abuse is definitely ramping up at this time. So Coy, Stephanie's boyfriend, was becoming a primary attacker at this point. Basically slamming Sylvia into the concrete floor, tying her up for days. And again, school kids are coming over. They're participating in these beatings. They're taking Gertrude's lead a lot of the time and following her instructions. Mm-hmm. They would practice their judo on her. They, again, with the lit cigarettes extinguished on her body. And then Jenny had also received a beating during this time. I guess, they're very short of money. They don't have the things they need. And I guess Jenny had borrowed a shoe for her good foot that she used in gym class, and Gertrude did not like that. So
just anything. So literally anything, looking for any kind of reason.
If exactly none at all, she was going to beat them.
Maybe
Sylvia.
Gertrude's like, well, it makes me look like I'm poor, so you're making me look bad.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. And also it probably made Gertrude feel better to see other people doing the same things she was wanting to do to the girls and be like, oh yeah, watch, you can do it. Put out your cigarette. Oh, do you take any classes? You want to try out the moves on her? Go ahead.
And you know how boys are always wanting to wrestle and like do their karate skills and stuff like that.
Sure.
I mean, Sylvia is now their punching bag.
Oh man. And you see a couple friends do it and then it just becomes, I guess, I can't ever see that. That's so horrible.
I just think of this poor helpless girl, and I don't even know how she was able to stand at this point.
I picture Gertrude being like, she doesn't even care. Go ahead, watch. Hey, Sylvia, you care if anybody does anything? And then she just doesn't say anything. And then it's like, see, she's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
And of course, Jenny is going to school at this time, but she's not reporting anything out of pure fear. She's, of course, terrified and doesn't know what to do.
It'll probably be worse if you say anything. Just like you hear a lot of victims being told.
Exactly. And, the beatings are getting so bad to Sylvia that she was gradually becoming incontinent and unable to really hold her urine. And really, she's banished to the basement. There's not a bathroom down there, so I don't even know what the circumstances were with that. But regardless, she was basically being forced to wet herself.
Well, plus you get to a point where it's like, who gives a shit? I'm just going to crap myself and pee myself because what's life worth?
Right.
Anymore?
You're in the lowest of the low place that I can't comprehend.
Yeah.
Mentally, how she must have been feeling at this time. She was often kept naked and deprived of food and water. I mean, to take a 16-year-old girl, strip her naked in front of the neighborhood is like the ultimate humiliation.
Yeah.
And then to be tortured on top of all of this, it's just, it's sick. And it makes me want to throw up.
I see this going towards selling her as well for sex and everything.
That, I don't think that ever happened.
Really?
No.
I can totally see this Kai guy going for that.
Coy.
Boy,
I was thinking the same thing. I don't know if it was because he was with Stephanie that didn't happen. I'm actually was thinking the same thing, that I was shocked that thank God it didn't get to that. It doesn't end well regardless. But
there's no thinking anything here at this point.
And, Sylvia is basically starving at this point. I guess one occasion, it was October 22nd, the son, John Jr., he had tormented Sylvia. He offered her a bowl of soup, then snatched it right away from her before she could eat it. And Sylvia is now suffering from severe malnutrition at this point.
You got to think suicide is probably entering her brain every day.
Who knows what must be going through her poor head.
Life's getting worse and worse the more she lives.
Drastically worse. And Sylvia had cried to Jenny saying, I know you don't want me to die, but I'm going to die. I can tell. This girl knew that the end was going to be there. This 16-year-old girl.
You're not getting fed. You're getting beaten more.
And broken down mentally, too.
Yeah, for sure.
The starvation, the deprivation, being naked and abused. You're broken down to nothing.
Yeah.
So as Sylvia continued to deteriorate, she was even having problems moving her limbs. Gertrude would somehow then let her sleep on the mattress upstairs. I guess some part of her dark, disgusting heart had a little compassion for her, and she would let her come back up to the bedroom.
How kind.
So I guess one night, Sylvia secretly whispered to Jenny to sneak her a glass of water. And the following morning, discovering that Sylvia had wet herself, Gertrude forced her to strip naked and insert an empty Coke bottle into her vagina.
So obviously Gertrude doesn't know there's urethras and vaginas.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, stupid dumbass. And she had her do this in front of the other children, and then again banished her to the basement. Shortly after, Sylvia was told to return to the kitchen and again ordered to strip naked. Gertrude said, you have branded my daughters, and now I'm going to brand you. She began to carve the words, I am a prostitute and proud of it, into Sylvia's abdomen with a heated needle. Gertrude...
That's a lot of letters.
It's a lot of letters. And of course, Gertrude is weak and debilitated and didn't want to finish the job. So she passed the needle over to 14-year-old neighbor Richard Hobbs, who finished the job. I guess they would just heat the needle and carve letters. And they didn't even know how to spell the word prostitute, these children. So sweet of Gertrude, she guided them and spelled it out for them. So, during this process of putting these words into her stomach, Gertrude had taken Jenny to a nearby grocery store. Hobbs finished the etching as Sylvia clenched her teeth and moaned. Hobbs and 10-year-old Shirley Banazuski then led Sylvia back down to the basement, where they used an anchor in attempt to brand and burn the letter S. It was like an S hook into her left breast, or right beneath it. But, they're children. They don't know what they're doing. Instead of the letter S, they put the number 3 onto her skin. They burned her skin. It was just disgusting. Gertrude later said, what are you going to do now, Sylvia? You can't get married now, because now she's got these words carved into her stomach. She's got this number 3 under her breast. They're mutilating her.
Basically doing everything they can besides killing her.
Yes.
And just seeing how long she can last.
Exactly.
Man alive.
So she's taunting her, saying, well, now you can't get married. And Sylvia just whimpered, I guess there's nothing I can do. Oh, it's so sad. Later that day, Gertrude forced Sylvia to display the carving to the neighborhood children on her stomach, saying that she received the inscription at a sex party, that's where it happened. So now the next day, Gertrude is forcing Sylvia to write a letter. It said, Dear Mr. and Mrs. Likens, I went with a gang of boys, which I don't know why she's inscribing it Mr. and Mrs. Likens if it's to her parents.
Yeah.
But I went with a gang of boys in the middle of the night, and they said that they would pay me and I would give them something. So I got in the car and they all got what they wanted. And when they got finished, they beat me up and left sores all over my face and all over my body. They also put this on my stomach. I am a prostitute and I am proud of it. I have done just about everything I could to make Gertie mad and cause Gertie more money than she's got. I've tore up a new mattress and peed on it. She didn't even spell the word peed right. It's just so sad.
Oh, you saw the letter?
Yeah. I have also cost Gertie doctor bills that she really can't pay and made Gertie a nervous wreck and all of her kids. And then John tied Sylvia's wrists to the basement railing where her feet were basically barely touching the ground and she's like dangling from her wrists. And then he force-fed her crackers that she didn't want, and she's so dehydrated at this point that she can't even swallow the crackers he's force-feeding her. And he's punching her in the stomach as she's trying to choke down these crackers. And in this process, he also forced her to eat the contents of his baby brother Denny's diaper.
My God, man.
Like
where does it end?
Exactly. The absolute torture. So now
John's the neighbor kid, right?
No, John Jr. is their son.
Okay.
And he, looking back at this, is I don't know where I put their ages. He's not old. Let's just put it that way.
I thought you said like 10 or something.
John was 12.
12.
So right about our son's age.
Yeah.
And he's doing these awful things. So on October 25th, Sylvia overheard Gertrude and her kids making plans to dump her body in the woods. So she knows, it's coming to an end here. Sylvia tried to run, but with her injuries and weakness, Gertrude caught her, dragged her inside, and tried to feed her toast. Oh, that's going to help. Here's some toast.
Yeah.
Severely dehydrated, she didn't even have the strength to eat. Gertrude struck Sylvia in the face with a curtain rod with such force that the rod bent into right angles. At this point, Coy Hubbard's at the house. He takes the curtain rod from Gertrude and strikes Sylvia one last time, rendering her unconscious. Gertrude then drags Sylvia back down to the basement. And that evening, Sylvia came to again, and she desperately tried to alert the neighbors. She was screaming for help, hitting the walls of the basement with a spade. Apparently, a next-door neighbor had informed the police that she heard commotion from the basement, but since the noise suddenly ceased at 3 a.m., she did no informing of the police. On the morning of October 26, Sylvia's speech was garbled. She was no longer really able to control her limbs. Gertrude brought her to the kitchen, propped her back against a wall, and attempted to feed her a donut and a glass of milk. Sylvia is in such bad shape, she can't hold the glass of milk to her lips. This angers Gertrude, and Gertrude then threw her to the floor in frustration and returned her to the basement.
Jeez.
Sylvia became delirious at this point, really only able to mumble and moan. Paula asked her to recite the alphabet, though Sylvia could only recite the first 4 letters. Paula verbally threatened her to stand up or she would inflict a long jump on her.
A long jump?
Which really, I think she meant she was just going to run and just jump on her.
Yeah. Let this be hope anybody listening to anything, if you're being abused and things are getting worse, they're going to get even worse. So go to somebody or tell people. And I know they tried. I know she tried. And
I think sometimes too with abuse, it becomes such a gradual process.
Yeah, you just get used to it.
You just get used to it, and you get so isolated that you feel like you have nobody to turn to.
Yeah, because you probably try a couple times, and all you have is nobody really believing you. And the police would have been such a good, and who knows if, Gertrude knew the police and it's oh no, it's fine.
No, I don't think she did.
Yeah.
She wasn't any kind of powerful person in town.
Yeah.
So Sylvia then defecated on herself and Gertrude demanded that Sylvia clean herself. The girl can't even speak. She can't move and she's being screamed at to clean herself. So that afternoon, a group of Sylvia's tormentors gathered around her. Sylvia,
a group of her tormentors.
Yeah.
Who has a group of tormentors? That's insane.
Well, Gertrude's little posse from the neighborhood. So Sylvia attempted to point at them and say their names. She's in such bad shape. She's just literally trying to even pronounce their names at this point.
Sure. And mentally, she's physically and mentally just broken down completely.
Yeah. At this point, she's been hit in the head repeatedly with a curtain rod. So who knows what kind of brain damage she's got. Gertrude had said, or when she reached Gertrude, she said, "You're Gertie." And Gertrude responded by saying, "Shut up. You know who I am." She was then given a pear to eat, which she was unable to bite into as her teeth were too loose from the beatings. They're just knocking her teeth out. John Jr. later sprayed Sylvia with a hose. He dragged the hose in from outside. I guess Richard Hobbs, one of the neighbor boys he was the one that helped with the carving of the "I am a prostitute and I am proud of it."
Yeah.
So he helped bring in the hose. And they were just spraying her down by Gertrude's instructions to clean Sylvia. So, yeah, really, really kind. She then again desperately tried to escape the basement, but collapsed before she was able to reach the stairs. Gertrude then stomped on Sylvia's head. At 5:30 p.m., Richard Hobbs returned to the house and headed to the basement, where he slipped on water. Of course, they'd been spraying her with the hose.
Yep.
And landed heavily to the floor. There he saw Stephanie crying and holding Sylvia's beaten, emaciated body after she had been ordered by her mother to clean Sylvia. So
Stephanie's crying.
Stephanie is crying. I think she's realizing that this shit's like gotten ridiculously far.
Oh, and now is when you start crying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Stephanie and Richard gave Sylvia a warm, soapy bath and dressed her in new clothes. They laid her on a mattress in one of the bedrooms, and this is so sad. Sylvia muttered her last wish, that Daddy was here. Isn't that awful? Oh, God, that makes me want to cry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, hey, I wish your daddy would have done something earlier and not put her in the hands of everything. She's just, you go back to being a kid, and you're just like, I just wish things were like they were when we were younger.
Yeah, so sad.
Instead of me being beaten down every day and ruined.
And I guess she had muttered that she wished that Stephanie would take her home. It's like, what do you want when you're at like the point of break? You just want to go home.
Yeah, and she hasn't had a home in years.
Well, at this point, she wasn't living with her parents since August. July.
It's crazy. Like, this seems like it'd be over the span of 10 years. But this is all in...
This happened over the course of like 3 months.
That's insane.
And I guess because Sylvia was now able to speak and mutter these words, Stephanie is thinking, oh, she's going to be fine. And when Stephanie realized now that Sylvia was no longer breathing, she attempted to resuscitate her with mouth to mouth. While this was happening, Gertrude is shouting, "Faker, faker," as she strikes Sylvia's body with a book. Like, at the bitter end, this nasty woman continued. Mm-hmm. So, God, we might have to pause this.
All right. And we're back.
Sorry.
So it's tough being a mom and also being
a human.
And you're one that gets comfort out of your own mother and stuff. Sometimes if you're sick, you're just like, I just want my mom. You go back to home and then it's comfort.
Well, I mean, when I was away at college, I was 18 years old and my parents had moved to Florida and I'm in Illinois and I'm scared. I'm away from my family for the first time. I'm in this new environment with all new people and I know that feeling and I wasn't being tortured. That's, I think, the hard part. This poor girl had like everything happened to her that should have never happened.
Yeah, she didn't. Nobody deserves that.
Nobody does. I mean, no animal would deserve this.
No.
I don't know how humans could be capable.
It's something to keep in mind, when you think like you'll never be like that, or humans can be definitely pushed towards some weird shit if given the wrong opportunity.
Yeah. So now finally this evil woman is realizing that Sylvia is indeed dead. She instructs the neighbor Richard Hobbs to call the police from a payphone, and they arrive at 6:30 p.m. and discover Sylvia's mutilated, frail, emaciated body lying on a soiled mattress in one of the bedrooms. Gertrude handed the police officers the letter that she had forced Sylvia to write and told them that she tried her best to take care of Sylvia, saying that she was a troubled child who ran away with a group of unknown boys and became sexually active with them. And the thing is that the officers could see that these sores all over her body were in such various stages of healing that... Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So anyway,
they've seen some stuff. They've seen some shit, and this is highly irregular.
Exactly. And she's telling the officers, "I tried to doctor Sylvia for an hour or more before she died." Paula stood, this nasty bitch, in the room with a Bible in her hand, saying that Sylvia's death was, quote, meant to happen. No, bitch. She's a 16-year-old girl who was previously healthy. You did this.
A lot of bad people hide behind the Bible and they think that they're okay.
And then she turns to Jenny and says, "If you want to live with us, we'll treat you like our own sister." So thankfully, initially Jenny is reciting the versions that Gertrude had forced her to recite, but thankfully she was able to catch one of the officer's eyes and she whispered, "If you get me out of here, I will tell you everything."
Nice.
So she gave her statement to the police, and thereafter Gertrude, Paula, Stephanie, and John Jr. were arrested on the suspicion of Sylvia's murder within hours of the discovery of her body.
Awesome.
And then that same day, Coy Hubbard and Richard Hobbs were also arrested, and all were held without bail pending the trial. Gertrude initially denied everything. She denied having any involvement. She was basically trying to pin it on all the neighborhood kids.
Yeah, and on her own daughter, I'm sure.
Exactly, on her own kids, not even just her daughter, but she did definitely pin Paula on.
Paula was the ringleader. Yeah, she was the one. I tried to stop her.
And I mean, really, truly, Paula was like one of the main tormentors of Sylvia.
Well, yeah, but you're the mother of the house, and you need to put. And yeah, she saw after her mom did it. So, and I'm sure that apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
No,
they both got some sadistic pleasure out of this.
So on October 27th, Gertrude confessed to having known that the kids, in quotes, specifically Paula and her boyfriend, well, not Paula's boyfriend, Stephanie's boyfriend, Coy Hubbard, had inflicted abuse on Sylvia, stating that Paula did most of the damage and Coy Hubbard did a lot of the beatings. Gertrude admitted that she forced Sylvia to sleep in the basement on 3 occasions after she had wet the bed. So that's the extent of what she's accepting.
So here's my thought. Paula and Stephanie, they're screwed up because they're Gertrude's daughter, so now they should have never done any of this stuff, but they're under Gertrude's thumb and she's going to make them do some of these beatings and stuff. Then you got this guy Coy that comes in and like starts to beat the shit out of Sylvia. Like that guy, what a fucking loser. Like what? How do you come in and just start like beating the shit out of a human being and a woman? Like, I mean,
well, she was
anybody.
probably, and Sylvia wasn't a big person, so no. Coy is obviously much bigger and stronger than her.
Right. That, I mean, I'm really angry at all these people. Obviously, Gertrude especially, but I can't even begin to wrap my mind around why Coy would go as far as he did.
I don't know why any of them did though. And, when Gertrude is saying she forced Sylvia on 3 occasions to sleep in the basement because she wet herself, the officer just turns to her and says she probably wet the bed from mental distress and injury to her kidneys.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? So during this whole thing, Paula showed absolutely no remorse. And we will put the picture on Instagram of Paula's mugshot. She has this disgusting little smirk on her fucking face that I'd like to slap off. If you could see this picture, it's just awful. Yeah. She's literally smirking.
We'll put it on Instagram and Twitter.
And she admitted in a signed statement that she had repeatedly beaten Sylvia about the backside with her mother's police belt, once breaking her wrist on Sylvia's jaw, and she had pushed her down the stairs 2 or 3 times and inflicted her a black eye. John Jr. admitted to spanking Sylvia on 1 occasion, though most of the times I used my fists, is what he tells them. Just matter of fact.
Well, it was regular. It was normal in this house.
Yep. He admitted to burning Sylvia with matches on several occasions and added that his mother had repeatedly burned Sylvia with cigarettes. 5 other neighborhood children who had participated in the abuse, Michael Monroe, Randy Lepper, Darlene McGuire, Judy Duke, and Anna Sisko had all been arrested by October 29th. All were charged with causing injury to a person and each released back home with their parents and subpoenaed to appear as witnesses in the upcoming trial.
These are kids, impressionable kids, and I'm sure, not all young, but it's that group think where it's like, hey, come on over. This is fun. There you go. You're like, no way. They don't have a girl here that they're beating the shit out of. And you just want to go to see just by you're like, what? And then it's like, yeah, watch here. Go ahead, punch her.
Well, and 2, Gertrude's home was frequented by lots of neighborhood kids. Yeah. Again, this is where they could come
do whatever you want.
And just do whatever the hell they wanted, to do. So I'm sure these were kids that were often over at the home anyway.
Even though Gertrude's the one telling Sylvia she's a bag of shit for being with having a boyfriend and doing fun things. Oh, yeah. And you want to get down on these kids that all just, had the gall to go over there and burn a cigarette on her. And it's like, not that it's acceptable, but it's like kids see other kids doing stuff and they make bad decisions. I'm sure there's probably books that came out from these people from it. They're going to try to take advantage of being in that situation, try to make some money. And I'm sure they feel horrible. I'm positive. I should hope so. If not, then they need to get checked. I'm sure they have some mental issues from being a part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
And like maybe they don't even know who they were. And they're like, how the hell was I capable of that? I would love to hear from some of these people now.
And I would can you imagine the parents finding out that they participated in this?
No, and you'd feel so let down. Like, my daughter, my son, like, did these things. You were in on this? How could you? And then almost like you couldn't not be mad and just be like, what happened? Like, what did I do to make you think this is
that this would be okay?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, were all of these kids abused in life that they thought that this was acceptable?
Impossible. It's impossible that every single kid was abused enough.
You wouldn't think so. But Sylvia's autopsy just is horrific. It showed 150 wounds over her body. It showed that she was extremely emaciated at the time of her death. The wounds were in various stages of healing, like I mentioned before, and various severity levels. She had severe bruising, burns, extensive muscle and nerve damage. Her vaginal cavity was nearly swollen shut, yet her hymen was still intact. Gertrude had been accusing her of sleeping around and being pregnant. She hadn't even slept with anybody in her life.
So the vaginal cavity probably from the Coke bottle?
Yeah, the Coke bottle, the kickings, who even knows?
Oh, God.
And then
I'm surprised her hymen made it through all this stuff too.
With like the Coke bottle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So all of her fingernails had been broken and bent backwards. Most of the external layers of her skin on her face, neck, breasts, and right knee had been peeled off. Her lips were so badly bitten that parts of it were severed from her face. It was likely when she was in such distress, she was just gnawing on her lips.
Well, yeah, and also when she was getting tattooed or branded, that's an extreme pain. Getting burned fucking sucks.
And cut at the same time,
Yeah. And she probably didn't have the ability to scream. You said she moaned. I was so surprised when you said she moaned. It's like, most people would be screaming bloody murder. Getting burned sucks. It's horrible. So, and just imagine all those letters being put on her.
I know, and there's pictures of it online. That's just so awful.
And there's so much pain that she's probably bit through her lip, and yeah, they don't even notice. God.
So her official cause of death was listed as a subdural hematoma, which is, like basically bleeding of the brain. It's like between the brain and your skull. It's like bruised.
Right.
From a blow to her right temple. Of course, they were beating her with a curtain rod. I'm sure that's what did that. Contributory factors included shock from prolonged damage to her skin and subcutaneous tissue and severe malnutrition. When found by police, Sylvia's body was in rigor mortis that indicated she had likely been dead for up to 8 hours before she was found. Gertrude had indicated that as soon as she saw that she was dead, she had, call the police. That likely was not true.
They're trying to resuscitate her so they wouldn't get in trouble.
Yeah, and her body, again, was noted to be recently bathed, possibly even after death, which would not surprise me at all.
Right.
They probably
make it look good.
Well, let's clean her up. Let's put her in fresh clothes.
Yeah.
And this could have increased the loss of body temperature that sped up the process of rigor mortis, so they're not entirely sure at what point she had passed away. So Sylvia's funeral was held on October 29th. More than 100 mourners were in attendance. Her headstone is just simply inscribed with the words, "Our darling daughter." Actually, the word daughter is not even fully spelled out on the headstone. In June 2001, a 6-foot granite memorial was formally dedicated to Sylvia in Willard Park in Indianapolis. It's transcribed with the words, "This memorial is in memory of a young child who died a tragic death. As a result, laws changed and awareness increased. This is a commitment to our children that the Indianapolis Police Department is working to make this a safe city for our children." Sylvia's death is credited to starting Indiana's mandatory reporter law. This law states that should a member of the public suspect a child is suffering from abuse or neglect, that this citizen is obligated to report this to authorities. And then there's also been, it's called Sylvia's Child Advocacy Center. It was started in 2010 in Lebanon, Indiana, but officially they renamed it this in 2016. I guess in 2010 it was named Boone County Child Advocacy Center, but they changed it to dedicate it to Sylvia. And then this was basically formed to assist child victims that are, experiencing abuse and neglect, a place to go for help. Mm-hmm. So at least something came out of her death, that they changed some laws, because I guess nobody was held accountable. Even if the next door neighbor knew that this was happening and didn't report it, they were not, penalized for that.
Well, yeah, and they don't want to be part of the whole thing, and
But this law says that this can't happen.
Yeah,
if you know something, you say it.
I wonder if that helps at all.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not the way that legislation should be used, I don't think. But I mean, it's definitely a good thing to make it mandatory to tell people. Like it's almost like you're part of it once you know.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and it's true. If a kid tells you they're being abused and you don't tell anybody else about it, then you're part of the problem.
Yes.
You're essentially an extension of the abuse.
Exactly.
Because you're able to help and you're not.
You're doing nothing.
And I was hoping you would say some things would be done, especially being the worst abuse crime in Indiana history. You would hope there'd be like scholarships to carry her name and things, and I'm sure and like you got emotional reading about it. Anybody who's anybody would be emotional learning about this story, and it would inspire you almost to make things better for future children. And there's kids in similar situations.
Yeah, sadly enough, there is.
Yeah.
So on December 30th, 1965, the jury returned first-degree murder indictments against Gertrude and 2 of her 3 oldest children, Paula and John Jr., as well as Richard Hobbs and Coy Hubbard. All were charged with having repeatedly struck, beaten, kicked, and inflicted fatal injuries to Sylvia with premeditated malice. Stephanie had been released from custody due to insufficient evidence of fatal injury charges against her. She agreed to testify against her family and others accused of Sylvia's murder.
So she got off a little better because she can, make sure they go away.
Yeah, exactly. Gertrude, Paula, and John Jr. were deemed mentally competent to stand trial, and the trial began on April 18th, 1966. Gertrude pled not guilty by reason of insanity.
She's just trying to get out of it.
Yeah, of course she is. So Deputy Coroner Charles Ellis was the first to testify on April 29th regarding the intense pain Sylvia had suffered and that she had been in an acute state of shock between 2 to 3 days prior to her death and was likely unable to offer much resistance to the treatment that she had been subjected to in her final hours. He indicated that despite the trauma inside and around her genitals, her body showed no signs of direct sexual molestation.
I can't believe that. But I mean,
I know, but thankfully,
it's not like it doesn't really matter. Like it's all horrible.
That would have been even worse.
Yeah, I mean, is there an even worse?
Yeah, being raped is something more.
Yeah.
On May 2nd and 3rd, Jenny testified against all 5 defendants, describing the emotional and physical abuse that her sister had endured. Of course, Jenny, I had read, did get some, I guess, talk back on the stand, like, why didn't you do something? Blaming this girl, she was abused herself and scared.
Well, you see what's going to happen to you.
Exactly. She added that Sylvia had done nothing to provoke the abuse. Randy Lepper testified that he had seen Stephanie strike Sylvia real hard after her mother had ordered her to remove her clothes in her presence. He also confessed, as he visibly smirked, that he himself beat Sylvia anywhere between 10 to 40 times. It's just like, okay, so this girl is dead and you still are smirking?
Yeah.
On May 11th, Gertrude testified in her own defense, denying any responsibility. On May 13th, Richard Hobbs testified in his own defense, describing the process of branding Sylvia's skin. I listened to this thing where he was telling officer or somebody about what he was doing, and he was just so matter-of-fact about it. He's like, yeah, Gertie handed me the needle, and I didn't know how to spell it. Just, he's like, I did really light strokes on her skin.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, wow, you were really kind to her.
Well, looking back, he's probably just realizing how fucked up it was.
So again, he was adamant that despite the fact that his branding caused blood to surface, he and Sylvia had begged him to stop, that his inflictions were only light. He also reported that after Sylvia had died, he returned home to watch TV. When Marie Baniszewski was called, she admitted to heating the needle that was used in the branding. She also said that although many participated in the attacks, it was mostly her mother and Paula. Another witness testified that she heard Paula openly bragging about the abuse while riding a church bus. So on May 19th, 1966, Gertrude was convicted of first-degree murder with a recommendation of life in prison. Paula was sentenced to second-degree murder, and Hobbs, Hubbard, and John Jr. were convicted of manslaughter. On May 25th, Paula and Gertrude were formally sentenced to life in prison, and Hobbs, Hubbard, and John Jr. were given 2 to 21 years. So then there was a retrial. In September of 1970, the convictions of Paula and Gertrude were reversed on the basis, I guess there was something said that there were circumstances regarding a prejudicial atmosphere during the trial, the initial trial. So they go back to retrial on, where were we? In 1971.
Oh, okay.
The pair were retried in 1971, and Paula opted to plead guilty to voluntary manslaughter, which is the killing of a human being during the heat of the passion, rather than
The heat
face
of the passion for like 3 months.
Exactly. Rather than face a retrial, and was sentenced to 2 to 20 years. So now her life in prison is being changed to 2 to 20 years.
Well, it's like basically they try to get you on, what they can get you on. And it's like, I guess it's really hard to get a murder when she's not the one that actually killed her at the end. So the manslaughter is the easiest way for the defense to get it, or prosecution to get her.
And then despite unsuccessfully trying to escape from prison twice in 1971, she was quoted as a model prisoner. She was released from prison December 1972 after serving only 7 years.
Wow.
Gertrude.
Paula?
I'm sorry. No, Gertrude or Paula was not considered the model prisoner.
Oh,
that was Gertrude. Gertrude was considered a model prisoner.
Well, I could see how she would like just turn up the suite and be like, "Oh, hello, sweetheart," and just being like, she knows how to manipulate people.
Exactly, master manipulator.
Yeah.
But so anyway, Paula is the one that tried to escape twice, yet still only served 7 years. I don't understand that. So Gertrude was again convicted of first-degree murder on the retrial and again sentenced to life in prison. She was a model prisoner, worked in the prison sewing shop. She was known as the den mother to the younger female inmates and was often referred to as Mom. In 1985, at the time of her final parole, she had changed her name to Nadine Van Fossen. I guess it was a combination of her middle and maiden names, and described herself as a devout Christian. At the time of her parole, she continued to minimize her role in Sylvia's death, but said that she wished it could be undone. She also said, "I'm not sure what role I played in her death because I was on drugs. I never really knew her. I take full responsibility for whatever happened to Sylvia." She was released from prison December 4th, 1986, after serving only 20 years.
Wow.
And then John Jr. was 12 at the time of Sylvia's death. He served 2 years.
That's crazy that he was 12. Like,
12.
And how does a 12-year-old serve 2 years in prison? Like, I don't even know how that works.
I don't know, but he was Indiana State Reformatory's youngest inmate. I do know that.
That's insane.
Coy Hubbard was 15. He served 2 years. Richard Hobbs was 14. He served 2 years.
Wow.
So after her release from prison, Gertrude relocated to Iowa. She basically kind of just faded away to Iowa. She died of lung cancer, shocker, shocker, being the chain smoker she was, at age 61 on June 16th, 1990. She never, ever took full responsibility of Sylvia's death. And she mostly continued to blame the actions.
Well, she said she takes responsibility.
Well, it was all blamed on the medication she was taking.
Oh.
She never said it was me. It was the medications.
Yeah.
So Paula changed her name to Paula Pace to conceal her past. She ended up working as a school aide counselor.
Good, around kids.
Yeah,
Perfect.
an aide to a school counselor for 14 years. But I guess she was fired in 2012. Her identity had been discovered, and they placed an anonymous call to the school, and they let her go.
Good.
Oh, and this precious angel, she's married and has 2 of her own children.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and she's special.
I'll bet you she's a real treat.
Of course, she was pregnant during the trial. Remember when Sylvia and Jenny moved in, she was 3 months pregnant.
Yeah.
I guess she gave birth to a daughter. And you know what she named her?
Hope?
Gertrude.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
just like her mom.
after her sweet mother.
Yeah, it's definitely somebody you want to remember the rest of your life.
I guess this baby had been later adopted, and the other Banazuski children were placed in temporary foster care and eventually put in their father's custody. I guess baby Denny, of course, he was, from another father who just skipped town.
Yeah.
He had been adopted into another family.
That's good. Hopefully a good family.
Hopefully. And then Coy Hubbard had never bothered changing his name. Shocker here. He had been in prison repeatedly during his adult life, various crimes. And then I guess in 1977, he was charged with murders of 2 young men.
Really?
Though ended up being acquitted. I wasn't sure what the circumstances of that were.
Wow.
But if you're capable to come and, wreak havoc on a 16-year-old girl, you're capable of a lot. So it doesn't surprise me at all that this happened.
No, it doesn't. It's just, you would think that he'd be sorry for his, what happened. And maybe, whatever happened, put it on something mental where it's just like, I don't know who I was at that time. I was young and impressionable. Things happened. I'm really sorry. But no, he's still, going out and, obviously mentally he's going to be fucked for his whole life because this thing that he was involved in. And I would assume as a human being, you would feel bad, remorseful, and just a life of crime doesn't surprise me whatsoever.
But he did end up dying of a heart attack at age 56.
Wow.
So, not living long here because Gertrude had died at 61. He's dying at 56. And then John Jr. went by John Blake. He became a lay minister and often hosted counseling session for children of divorce. He died of complications of diabetes at age 52.
Wow.
Yeah, so these people are not living very long.
Paula's the only one sticking around.
Yeah, she's still around.
Stephanie's probably still around.
Stephanie was never charged with murder. She
Right.
changed her name to Stephanie Circustad or something like that. She had several children of her own. I guess she's still alive. Jenny, Sylvia's younger sister, she married and had 2 children, yet remained traumatized by the events of her abuse. She died of a heart attack at age 54.
Wow.
And then Diana, she was like kind of the estranged older sister.
Yeah.
I read a really crazy article, I guess in 2015. She was found in a rugged and remote area of an Indian reservation in California. I guess the people who found her, they were like, I have no idea how she got out here in her car.
Wow.
Because they were off-roading when they found her car. She had been out in the desert, lost for 2 weeks. Her husband at the time had been found dead in the car with her, and she was,
Oh my God. So another insane situation.
Yeah.
Wow.
She survived, but I guess, she had to be hospitalized from severe dehydration.
Wow.
I guess she had been like collecting rainwater in cups, and that's kind of what kept her going. But her husband didn't make it.
Yeah.
So that was 2015. And then Lester and Benny, Likens, Lester and Benny, good God. Lester and Betty. Mm-hmm. Benny was one of the brothers. They had divorced. Betty remarried, and she died in 1998 at age 71. The Banazuski house had eventually been torn down as now a church parking lot.
Lester's useless.
Yeah.
And I mean, his mom. Yeah.
Well, I guess the mom wasn't in prison very long. She had been, in prison for shoplifting.
Yeah, you said she was back.
Yeah, I guess once she did get released, she immediately joined Lester out on the road.
Yeah.
So.
They had to do their Carney stuff.
Yeah. So.
Carney doesn't sleep.
Nope.
That's it, huh?
Yeah, that's the story.
So the only one living is Paula. I'd imagine with all these true crime, podcasts, there's several thousand of them just like ours, but it's somebody had to have looked up Paula at some point and try to talk to her. I'm sure she gets calls. I'm sure she gets like inundated with a lot of stuff. She's a real human piece of shit.
She really is. And obviously somebody knows of her because they ratted her out, and that's why she got fired from her job.
Well, there's people watching her just to make sure she's not around kids. I mean, although she has 2 of her own, unfortunately. God help them.
So she goes by Paula Pace from what I heard.
Yeah, if you know a Paula Pace, I mean, in Iowa or something like that.
Iowa, yeah.
Yeah, that's potentially the Paula.
Just wait till you see her mugshot. This disgusting little smirk.
So you'll make sure we post that on Instagram and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. Sorry for the heavy stuff today.
Yeah, sorry. It's a rough one.
Yeah, that's, hey, just hug your kids even closer. And if you hear of any abuse out there, man, just report that shit because it's not right. Of whoever it is, whether it's just a a kid, a female, even male, any kind of
it
abuse.
doesn't matter.
There.
If there's abuse, you report it.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Simple.
If there's one thing we can learn from poor Sylvia, God rest her soul.
Exactly.
Then we can report things and make them better, hopefully. So, and if you're listening to this and you're being abused, tell people, man.
I know it's scary and lonely and isolating, but
I love you. I love you, whoever you are. If you're listening to this, just there's hope. We can make things better. So reach out to someone. We'll make it better. So. All right. Well, let's please, review us so we can do some more stories here. Give us 5 stars on Apple, iTunes, and all that stuff. But other than that,
we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks
for coming.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.